Information is going to go over training heart rate and RPE. So do you go and track your workout effort? How do you know if you're getting an effective workout? How do you know if you're working out enough? So how much time and effort are you putting into each exercise and movement? Do you even know? Do you have a heart rate monitor or device on whether you're performing your workout? And these are some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself when you're trying to identify your time and intensity. There are two well-known methods to figure out your heart rate. The first one I'm going to go over is the traditional method. Let's say you end up having a 24-year-old individual, so you take 220 minus the age equals the max heart rate. So 220 minus 24 equals 198. So then you take the maximum beats per minute at 198 times 0.70 for 70%, and you get 138.6 BPM, or you end up equating it a little bit lower for a target heart rate range. Of course, we're not dealing with decimal points. For 85%, you end up doing 198 times 0.85, and that'll give you 168.3. So an effective target heart rate range using the traditional method from a 24-year-old is 138 to 168 BPM. The Karvonen Formula is another well-known method. You take a 24-year-old, do the same thing. We got the 220 minus the age, and so 220 minus 24 equals 196 for the maximum heart rate. Resting heart rate of 60 for an example. This method is best taken when you first wake up in the morning. Take 196 for max heart rate minus the 60 resting heart rate, and that leaves us 136 for beats per minute for heart rate reserve. So you take that 136 and you multiply it by 0.70 or 0.7 for 70%. You get that number, plus you add in the resting heart rate, that gives you 155.2. So you do the same thing for 85%, 0.85, and that'll give you 175.6. So of course we don't end up dealing with decimals, so you want to go take an effective range of 155 to 176 beats per minute. So traditional versus the Karvonen method, Karvonen formula. The traditional was found to underestimate those individuals over 30. Karvonen is more accurate for those over 30. So I found it off of this study. It was called the Hunt Fitness Study for an age-predicted maximal heart rate in healthy subjects. So the Hunt study was found to end up having a convenience factor for the traditional is good, but with a standard error of 10.8 beats per minute, need to be taken into account. So the max heart rate was also found that in healthy populations, women and older individuals, their heart rate was reported higher than previous reports. So how do you get an accurate measurement for your heart rate? There are several methods. One method is a chest strap heart monitor. Usually it's paired with a wrist device or Bluetooth, off your phone. Heart rate monitor device, they've been more accessible and really good and cheap in recent years. The chest strap is more accurate just because it's closer to your heart, right? It's not away. The wrist devices measure your distal pulse, so it's less accurate. If you end up going and working out, maybe an occlusion of one of the other vessels, would lead on to the pulse, down the line, closer to your wrist to shut off. So technically, you might not get every single pulse, registered on that wrist device. You see more people with activity trackers and monitors that also log your steps as well, which is if you're an untrained individual, that would be a decent method to at least show some progression. So what you can do to go and keep your heart rate elevated? Well, there's a few different ways. Higher intensity interval training is a good way to get more out of your workout and increases your heart rate. You can do this by shortening up the rest periods between your sets, circular lifts for less downtime, and increase your effort on the cardio equipment. So you can do this for increasing the incline of the treadmill. If you're in a flat state like me, you don't end up getting much elevation to train on. If you end up having an exercise or spin bike around, you can end up increasing the resistance knobs or the effort on the machine to make it harder for yourself. As well as any other piece of cardio equipment, it usually ends up having a resistance adjustment to it that you can benefit from. So one other method you can use to figure out how hard that you're working without the use of a heart rate monitoring device is a RPE, or rate of perceived exertion, right? So usually RPE is a self-monitoring system on a scale of between 1 to 10. 1 is a really light effort or no amount of exertion. 10 is an all-out effort. You're kicking your own ass basically. A lighter training is usually between 4 to 6 RPE, and a lot more intensive trainings are between 6 and 8. So depending on your program's effort level or needs, RPE is a resourceful tool. You should begin your trainings at RPE of 3 to 4 to warm up gradually, right? Increase the temperature of your muscles in your body, increasing it to 5 or 6 RPE for like your working sets. Last part of your workout, you want to take your RPE to like 7 or 8, and maybe for a finisher, 9 or 10. But you never go to a higher RPE than what your body can handle, or injury is more than likely going to occur. If you're not seeing the rest of the results that you want to, maybe your RPE is a little bit lower. So you can end up using this chart for your benefit. And if you end up having a good workout, or even starting off with a true set, like a 5 or 6, if you can go squeeze out another rep or 2, maybe to 7 or 8, and you just keep on going down the line until your measurements for effort are a lot higher. Finally, the last method I'm going to go over is the talk test. So the talk test, can be measured with RPE as well. So the talk test depends on how much effort you're actually putting into your workout, depending on how labored your breathing is. The talk test is another estimation tool to see how much effort you're putting into exercise that you're doing. All right. So on the chart that we see, you end up having a maximal heart rate, is effective to about a similar RPE of 5 in the grayscale. So fluid sentences, there's not too heavy of a labored breathing that you're doing upon yourself. You can carry on a normal conversation. Blue, as you increase your heart rate and increase your rate of perceived exertion, it's a little bit harder to squeeze out, a full sentence without needing to take a breath. And the same goes down the line for green, yellow, and red. Red, you should not be able to go and hardly speak at all, just because the amount of effort that you're putting into the exercise or movement is at an extreme measure, right? So anything else that you can think of for yourself, if you don't end up having to watch heart rate monitor device, going and actually monitoring your heart rate, talk test if you end up working out with a buddy or a friend of some sort, is a useful tool to see on how much effort that you're putting into what you're doing. So to wrap everything else up, use your time wisely in the gym or during your training sessions. Keep your intensity and overall effort high. Get something else out of your workout that you want to do. You put in the effort that you want to get out of it. The more effort, the more you get out of your workouts. Remember, it's you against you. Don't try to outperform someone else. You're worried about the movement quality, not the quantity. So gradually increase your effort and train like an athlete. Eat nutritiously dense foods within your caloric needs, and sleep like a baby. Thank you for watching.